Do you really think pornography is just innocent fun? Be aware that it could be silently destroying your brain. What you're about to discover goes far beyond what you've heard before, and perhaps explains why you're so unfocused, unmotivated, and stuck in cycles that never end. Science has already proven the effects on the brain are comparable to those of hard drugs. And the scariest part? It's just that this is becoming normal. In this video, you will understand, point by point, how porn consumption is affecting your emotions, your energy, your mental health, and even your relationships. And it's not theory, it's what really happens inside your nervous system, explained in a simple and direct way. And in the end, you will even know the real story of a person who went through all of this and managed to reverse it. What did she do? How did she get out of it? And how can you apply it too? If you feel like you've lost control, but want to take back the reins of your life, this is your chance. But be careful. This video is not for those who want to remain trapped in the comfort of ignorance. It's for those who want to wake up now, before it's too late. Shall we do this? The first thing you need to understand is that the human brain works as an extremely sensitive chemical balance system. When a person frequently consumes pornography, they are essentially forcing their brain to produce a flood of dopamine, the pleasure neurotransmitter. However, this excess is not free. Over time, receptors become less sensitive. And what used to cause excitement no longer has any effect. That's where the climb begins. More intense videos, more bizarre fantasies, everything to feel the same peak. This vicious cycle alters the structure of the brain, especially in the areas responsible for motivation, reward, and decision-making. It's like becoming addicted to sugar or cocaine. The nervous system begins to operate in automatic mode, always seeking immediate pleasure, even if it destroys discipline in the long term. And it's no exaggeration. Neuroimaging studies show similar patterns between pornography addicts and heavy drug users. Semen retention, on the other hand, helps break this pattern. It's like resetting the synapses and allowing the brain to return to its original state. People who practice semen retention report that after a few days, the brain begins to find pleasure in simple things again. Walking outdoors, reading a good book, cooking your own food. This is a sign that dopamine levels are regulating. A practical exercise is to write down, for 7 days, everything that gives you pleasure without involving sexual stimuli. It may seem silly, but it reconditions your mind to value reality, not fantasy. This emotional re-education is powerful. Another important point: excess dopamine makes the individual apathetic to activities that require effort and focus. Working, studying, training, or meditating become heavy tasks because the brain is conditioned to seek quick gratification. This explains why many men complain about a lack of motivation even though they have everything in hand. The internal motor is out of adjustment. Have you ever noticed how most people can only concentrate with external stimulation, like loud music or caffeine? So it is. This is a clear symptom of a saturated brain. Those who begin to reverse this process with semen retention notice the signs quickly. More mental clarity, more energy in the morning, more willingness to do what needs to be done. It's like taking your brain out of a dark basement and putting it in the sun. But this is just the first layer. Because, as the individual begins to realize the effects of this change, they will inevitably come across an even more disturbing truth about modern addictions. If you are a man looking for more energy, focus, and self-control, I have prepared a powerful ebook that will show you how semen retention can transform your life. Link in the first pinned comment. Few people have the courage to face the truth. Pornography addiction is not just a bad habit. It acts on the brain with a strength comparable to cocaine. Yes, you read that right. When analyzing the brain activity of those who compulsively consume pornography, the activated areas are the same ones that shine in the brain of a crack addict. The limbic system, responsible for emotions and rewards, goes into overload. And the result is predictable: dependence, tolerance, withdrawal, and relapse. The problem is that, unlike illicit drugs, pornography is socially accepted, free, and available 24 hours a day. This makes the addiction even more sneaky. No one needs to leave home or risk being arrested or tried. Just one click. And over time, this clicking becomes a habit. And the habit turns into prison. Semen retention, in this context, appears as a liberating alternative, not just a challenge, but an act of rescuing one's own mental sovereignty. It's as if the brain was reprogrammed to always seek relief in the same way: artificial sexual stimulation. And the more you give in, the less pleasure you have with reality. A man can be next to an incredible woman and not feel anything. I've seen this happen to friends of mine. Young, healthy men, but with destroyed libido. This is no coincidence. It's the consequence of years of training the brain to be excited by pixels and not people. Sad, right? But there is a way out. The good news is that, by interrupting the cycle, the brain goes through a process known as reboot. He relearns to respond to natural stimuli. But the beginning is challenging. There may be irritability, anxiety, insomnia, which, interestingly, also happens in those who stop using drugs. Therefore, strategy is needed. Meditation, journaling, and cold baths are great allies at this stage. And of course, stay focused on the greater purpose, regaining control of yourself. Semen retention is not an internet fad, it's a call for neurological detox. And the sooner the individual understands this, the better. Because time is passing, and the damage continues to deepen with each click. But this hole, no matter how deep it seems, has a way out. And when climbing the first step, the person begins to notice symptoms that they never imagined were linked to this addiction. Sometimes the body screams what the mind insists on ignoring. Anxiety, insomnia, loss of libido, irritability for no reason. All of this could be the reflection of a brain in silent collapse. Pornography addiction is not limited to momentary pleasure. It corrodes, from within, the neurological structure that supports emotional and physical well-being. Many think they are just stressed, but in reality they are fighting a biochemical war caused by too much stimulation. One of the most insidious symptoms is mood swings. The individual feels good after consumption, but soon comes apathy, guilt, and emptiness. This affects relationships, work, and even self-esteem. The guy begins to see himself as weak, unable to control himself. And this creates more anxiety, fueling the vicious cycle. Those who begin to practice semen retention are often surprised by the change in their own temperament. You become calmer, more present, more centered. Muscle spasms, chronic fatigue, and a feeling of foggy mind are also common. The brain is literally overloaded with stimulation but starved of presence. It's like a computer with dozens of tabs open. One moment it crashes. And guess what? Pornography opens 1,000 mental tabs, all sucking energy without giving anything in return. This is why so many people feel tired despite sleeping 8 hours a night. It's not the body, it's the nervous system asking for help. There is yet another hidden effect, the loss of creativity. The mind addicted to instant pleasure loses the ability to think in the long term. Projects that require patience are abandoned. Books are dropped halfway. Relationships lose their luster quickly. Semen retention, on the contrary, reactivates the power of future vision. A good exercise is to take a notebook and write, for 21 days, one new idea per day. It could be a business, a book, a trip. The goal is to train the brain to create, not just consume. And the most curious thing is that, as these symptoms begin to disappear, a disturbing question arises. How did we let this happen for so long without realizing it? And the answer, however uncomfortable it may be, pushes us directly to the next step of this journey of reconnection. Despite all the damage that pornography addiction can cause, there is a powerful light at the end of the tunnel. The brain can regenerate itself. And this is not motivational talk, it is pure science. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to reconfigure itself, create new connections, and adapt to new habits. But here's the secret that no one likes to hear. This requires consistency. It's not a button you press and that's it. It's a daily process, like a mind gym. In the early days of semen retention, the brain is still in survival mode, begging for easy dopamine. It's normal to feel discomfort, agitation, even anger. But that's precisely where the miracle begins. By resisting, you force your brain to look for other sources of pleasure. And little by little, he finds it. A deep conversation, a walk in the sun, playing an instrument, diving into a good book like Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb or The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. All of this really feeds the brain. What I'm explaining here is much more detailed in my ebook The Power of Semen Retention. There is a simple step-by-step guide for you to apply in your everyday life. It's really worth it. The reports are almost always the same. After 15, 30 or 60 days, mental clarity returns as if someone cleaned a cloudy lens. Creativity starts to flow. Emotions balance each other. The individual feels more whole, more present, more alive. Semen retention is a practice that accelerates this process, because it gives the brain the raw material necessary to build a new identity. And when this happens, the transformation is not just mental, it is physical, emotional, and even spiritual. It is important to understand that recovery time depends on the depth of the addiction. Someone who has spent years consuming pornography every day will need more time than someone who is just starting to break free. But the starting point doesn't matter. What counts is the direction. Meditating for 10 minutes a day, sunbathing early in the morning, and keeping a feelings diary are practices that accelerate neuroplasticity. Small actions with big long-term results. And as the brain returns to balance, a new challenge appears: rebuilding emotional relationships. Because, after all, it's not enough to clean the system. You need to learn to truly connect. And then comes an even more delicate aspect of the journey. When we talk about recovering from a silent addiction like pornography, we cannot ignore the role of emotional relationships. Many people think they will win this fight alone, by force, as if it were a solitary battle. But the truth is that the support of someone who truly loves you can be the turning point. And I'm not talking about erotic support, but about presence, listening, understanding. A partner who understands the semen retention process can be a true healing mirror. Healthy relationships help rewire the brain for a new form of intimacy. More sensitive, more connected, more aware. Pornography teaches the brain to objectify, to consume. Real love does the opposite. It teaches you to understand, to give yourself. This may seem corny to those who live under anesthesia, but those who cross the desert of addiction understand that the real water is not immediate pleasure, but genuine bonding. Being with someone who respects your time and your process is often what sustains the journey. But not everyone has this support, and that's okay. When there is no partner, self-care becomes the foundation. And it starts with an internal look. How do you treat yourself when you make a mistake? How do you react to relapses? If there is punishment and guilt, the brain returns to the pleasure cycle as an escape valve. That's why it's so important to cultivate patience with yourself. A good exercise is to write letters of forgiveness to yourself, as if you were talking to a child who just needed to be welcomed, not judged. This restorative love can also come from conscious friends, support groups, or even online communities focused on the practice of semen retention. Being surrounded by people who speak the same language and understand the difficulties along the way makes all the difference. And here's a practical tip. Avoid superficial conversations and seek connections with those who share the same purpose. The depth of dialogues can heal wounds you didn't even know were open. And when this supportive environment begins to form, something changes within the person. She realizes that she no longer needs to escape real life. And then, something even more powerful begins to emerge. The desire to build, create, evolve. And it is exactly at this point that personal transformation takes a new direction. Now that you know how pornography directly impacts your brain, the question is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Are you going to ignore it and continue on autopilot, or are you going to use this as a turning point in your life? The decision is yours alone, but remember, every click you make, or avoid, is shaping your future. Semen retention is not just a challenge, it is a path to rebuilding your true inner strength. Have you ever stopped to think about how much time and energy are being drained by habits that get you nowhere? What if you invested that same energy into developing focus, discipline, and presence? Imagine the impact this would have on your work, your relationships, your body, your mind. You don't need to take a giant step, you just need to start small. A simple, "not today," can change everything. I want to hear from you. What was the point of this video that impacted you the most? Have you ever felt any of the symptoms I mentioned here? Share with me in the comments. Your story can help a lot of people who are going through exactly what you experienced. And if you like this content and want to continue learning about semen retention, modern addictions, and personal evolution, do the following. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you don't miss any new content. Here, the conversation is straight, deep, and transformative, without fluff. Don't leave it for later. Click on the first pinned comment, purchase the ebook, and start changing your energy, your mind, and your life today.